The video lesson today is going to be about object-oriented programming in Python. What is object-oriented programming? There are other languages like the procedure-oriented programming languages, which emphasize functions. But Python is a clearly object-oriented programming, so Python emphasizes objects. What is an object? An object is a collection of methods that act on variables which are also objects, and the blueprint for these objects is a class. What is a method? A method is actually a function that belongs to a particular class. More precisely speaking, a method is an object property that happens to be a function. And, an object is an instance of a class. Okay, so to declare a new class in Python is that simple. You use the class keyword and you give a name to your class. Let's call it employees. Then comes the construct function, or in other words, the init method. The constructor function is a special method that is the first to be called whenever a new object is instantiated from the given class. So we use the def keyword and the double underscore, and let's choose the init method. Okay. This method, first you will have to pass in the parameters of this init method. A parameter, or in other words, an argument, is actually a kind of variable that belongs to a method or a function. The first one is the self argument. That is because the class must construct an instance of itself, hence the name. And then you can specify the attributes you want the class to have. So, for example, what attributes an employee may have. For example, they may have a name, they may have an age, and a post. Then you can use the self variable, you see. That's the first parameter, the first argument, which is also a kind of variable, as I said. Age is equal to age, and post is equal to post. Okay, now let's declare another method let's call it get info. The parameter is also going to be the self argument. And this is going to return the attributes of the constructor functions. You can format these attributes like this. Let's put a tab, and then you can use these curly braces that is to specify the order of the attributes to be printed out, to be displayed. And now we are going to use the format method and give the parameters, give the attributes of the init method. So self name, self age, and last but not least, self post. Okay, now comes the instantiation. So let's say employee 1. Now we are going to use the class. You know, the class is a blueprint from which further objects can be instantiated. So now we are going to use our newly created class called employees and give and assign a value to each of its arguments, or in other words, parameters, attributes. So, for example, John Smith, name, you know, age 47, and post programmer. And now simply we can print out the data, the personal data of this particular employee. So let's use the print method. And now we are going to use our class again, so employee, and we are going to use the dot notation to add the getInfo method to it. And the parameter of this getInfo method is going to be our new variable called employee1. You see, we have a variable called employee1. Now let's run the program. You see, John Smith, 47, programmer. Thank you for watching.